Okay, we're starting.
Good.
Mhm.
Going to call to order the combined council meeting for Thursday, May 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Before we begin our meeting, we'd like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is a Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Welcome for those in the gallery and for those attending for presentation. We have a full slate of council. First order, number 3. Looking for approval or changes to the agenda, council.
Did you want to add like just a non-B that it's Perry Lake?
Which one, councilor?
9B, just says second reading, but it doesn't say
We can,
for which one it is.
we can signify those. So parallel would be 9B and 9C would be C1
Main Street East.
12 Main Street is that what we're doing?
Okay, so no councilor. Anybody else? Okay, with that, have a motion please to accept.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda for Thursday, May the 23rd, 2024, Committee of the Whole session. No, it's actually a combined session. As amended.
Move by Councilor Osborne, second please.
Second
Second to Councilor Roger Lane. Discussion on motion.
question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We have no announcements or proclamations. We do have a presentation tonight. I'm pleased to have,
So we're gonna miss
Minutes.
what did I do?
minutes.
Oh, just that.
4 and 5.
So looking for disclosure of interest on agenda items. Hearing none, now we'll move into minutes. I'm looking for approval of minutes. 04/25/24, and that's for the combined committee of the whole and council. Councilor Osborne.
I spoke to our CAO with this. A couple of meetings ago, we had asked that all the reports be embedded into the minutes, and I just noticed that Deputy Mayor Chapman's report's not embedded, and neither is the mayor's report, and neither is the CAO's report. So as long as those get embedded, then
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
Any more changes?
The changes I sent, I mean, didn't get an updated copy.
Also dealing with auditors.
Okay.
Sorry.
So,
There was just a few typos that I submitted into the CA.
okay.
Yeah, we'll get those in as well. Yeah.
Should we make those changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember what they were? Just because I didn't.
Spelling,
There's several.
yeah, and then there was one procedural.
Pick one procedural.
Well, just, I have to get the correct mover in sec. To join under, so in under 9E, there has to be, between those two parts of that motion, there has to be an and put in because it was done as one motion.
Okay.
Uh,
So should we wait for them to come back? Because I didn't see it.
we'll recirculate.
Okay, with that, could I have a motion, please?
Are we not deferring them?
We can defer to the correct.
Consensus to defer? Okay. Moving number 6. Again, no announcements or proclamations. We're going to move into presentation number 7 on the agenda. We're pleased to be joined by John Whitford, who is the Director of Planning and Development for the municipality of East Hants, and he's going to do a presentation on infrastructure bylaws. So Mr. Whitford, sorry, when you're ready.
It's just on the
Technical difficulties.
since we don't have a,
If you have a thumb drive, we can pop it on this one.
Yeah, that's cheap.
Right here?
Yep.
My email is not connected, so if you have a thumb drive, I'll give it to you and you, oh, gotcha. Share it around.
Maybe. Yeah, when that was a lot of things are.
Just let me know, we'll get-
And the one on the back. So my hair's covering. It's the new style, it is. What I heard. I can go change.
For sure.
It was such a quick turnaround from the time I went got home. And then got everything done. And then. 5:45, I gotta leave. Oh, yeah, I never really thought that was.
You want them up here? I can,
What's that?
you want them up here, I can step aside for you,
Up to you,
or
or,
come on up and I'll step over here.
yeah, so we have two computers with it on.
Oh, yeah.
They could slide to one side if you like it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Work. So,
Wherever you want.
it's all good. All right. So infrastructure charges. I suspect everyone generally familiar with the concept, and so I've just got a few slides here to kind of start the conversation, and if I'm going over stuff you already know or want to move on, just let me know. So infrastructure charges, sometimes referred to as off-site or development charges, are charges that may be imposed on a subdivider to cover all or part of the capital costs of certain specified services incurred or anticipated to be incurred that may be necessary because of the development of a new subdivision. These charges are applied to services located outside the area of land being subdivided. And that's a really important distinction. So when a developer is developing a piece of land, they're responsible for installing all the sewer, water, storm drainage, streets, curbs, sidewalks, street trees, all that stuff is on their dime. But whatever the municipality has to do to connect them to the larger system, that's where infrastructure charges come in. The subdivision bylaw, so you need a policy in your municipal planning strategy in order to do this. And then the subdivision bylaw would implement this and must identify the areas in which the infrastructure charges are levied, the purposes for which the charges are to be levied, and the amount of the charges or the method of calculating the charge. So, and in municipal world, we always ask, well, where does the authority come from, right? So obviously it's a Municipal Government Act in this case, section 274. States an MPS may authorize the inclusion of provisions for infrastructure charges in a subdivision bylaw. And there's several things you can actually use them for, water systems, wastewater, storm drainage, streets, upgraded intersections, traffic signals, and new transit facilities. Now, I've highlighted the only two that we've ever considered. And I think most municipalities have stuck to water and wastewater. We have toyed, I guess, a little bit with the idea of stormwater, but we've never, I don't think, taken a serious look at it yet. So in our case, we have two bylaws that are relevant in addition to the policies in the NPS, a subdivision bylaw and a separate infrastructure charges bylaw. And how this all started is kind of interesting. So we had a trunk sewer charge back in the early mid nineties. Then when we started to see growth starting to take off in the nineties in the Enfield, Hillsdale and Lance area, the municipality commissioned this study. And you know, sometimes when we hire consultants and wonder what value we got for that 100,000 or 200,000 or 50,000, whatever you spent. East Hants got so much value out of this study, it's probably worth 10 times what we paid for it. And so Porter Dillon did this study for us in 98. And what they were asked to do is look at, okay, based on the growth that we're seeing, what do we need to do over the next 25 years to ensure that we have adequate city water capacity? So the next slide is a table from that report. And I think this actually scared our council. Like the total was $30 million in today's dollars, which doesn't sound that scary now, but in 1998, it was really scary. And so that, I think, tipped it for our council. They realized that their current ratepayers could not afford to support all the development that we were going to see, or expected to see. And this is just sort of in a table. And remember, this is looking not from currently the last 8 years, 2023, but from 1998 forward. And they looked at, you know, you would go along and you would have to make these multi-million-dollar investments at certain stages. Now, our actual infrastructure plan has been modified over the years. It didn't actually follow this trajectory, but, you know, the idea is the same, that like we got more life out of our Enfield water treatment plant than we thought. We expanded, we made the expansion larger instead of building it in, that kind of thing. But the idea was sound, I think. So our current rates, the residential ones are actually pretty straightforward. It's basically $6,000 if you have a single unit dwelling, and that has not changed since 2000. Which means that inflation's eaten away at that. Developers used to complain about it, they don't complain about it anymore because the value of it is really decreased. You know, back when a home sold for $150,000, it was a much more significant thing than a $400,000 or $500,000. There are different rates for what we call accessory dwelling units or granny suites. That would be $1,500 per bedroom. Apartments are $1,800 per bedroom, and townhouses $1,500 per bedroom, which is really weird that apartments are higher than townhouses. And I think that's a temporary thing because somebody looked at water usage, and at the time, for some reason, apartments were using more, I think, because a lot of the apartment stock was older. All the townhouses we had were newer, so that's just kind of an anomaly that worked its way into the system. And then I don't think I need to go through all of these, but all our rates for commercial are there, like a hotel is $900 per guest room. And then retail and restaurants and so on are all listed there. The most expensive would be a coffee shop, like a Tim Hortons, is $9 per square foot. Whereas if you go down to a warehouse, it's 9 cents per square foot. So a huge difference just based on the projected water use. Then there are always wrinkles with these things. And so we come to what we call water intensive uses. And they're to be charged, basically a calculation is done when they apply for a permit about how much water we expect them to use. They give us an idea of what sort of operation they have, and they put a number out there, and our engineers will look at it and say, is that consistent, or, you know, does it seem out of whack? And we arrive at a number that way. We put one exception in the bylaw last year for laundromats because we had no laundromats in East Hants, and we realized, you know, there's a social good there for people that don't have their own laundry machines, and it was a barrier. So we dropped the rate for them by 75% of what they would normally pay. And then, so yeah, infrastructure fees, for example, a high water usage like a brewery, and we actually had one go in last year and the year before. And we expected they're using about 1,400 imperial gallons per day. The infrastructure charges are $25,000 for that. So, you know, not insignificant, but not, I think, too crazy either. So this next table is just to show you how much revenue we're deriving from infrastructure charges now. So this is for 5 years. And over the last 5 years, we took in about $3.2 million between sewer and water. And, you know, again, in 22, 23 and 21, 22, those are really crazy years, you know, getting close to $1 million a year. It softened a little bit last year. I think it's gonna go back up again this year, but, you know, it's, it doesn't pay for everything for sure, but it definitely, you know, helps start building that reserve fund to do some of these things that you need to do. And right now, our reserves are actually pretty low in sewer because we just spent $10 million in a new sewage treatment plant in Shubenacadie, so that's only got $80,000 in it right now. The water infrastructure reserve is $733,000, so again, the money comes in and it goes right back out, sort of thing. The next slide is, you're not gonna be able to see that from there, but it's, just a page from our 5-year capital budget showing, basically all the projects. Again, that money comes in and, you know, it gets put straight to whatever projects are coming up. And there's an example there. So we expanded the infield water treatment plant, and that cost $2.2 million. 1.8 million of that came from infrastructure charges. So about 80% of our cost there was covered by infrastructure charges, which is great. Some of the other ones like the, and we didn't have to borrow for that, either, which is great. The new sewage treatment plant in Shubenacadie, again, it was $9.5 million. We took $4 million from other reserves, which includes infrastructure charges. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact breakdown, but I think it was about $3 million from infrastructure charges. I don't know why accountants do that, just mix everything together so you can't figure it out, I guess.
We love doing it.
So my last couple of comments would be, if you're, you know, really contemplating doing this, amendments to the municipal planning strategy and subdivision bylaw, it requires a public participation process. An infrastructure charges bylaw is like a regular municipal bylaw. It doesn't, you know, you have to post a notice and that's about it. You do 2 readings and away you go. But I would do it all as one process. So you tell the world that you're looking at infrastructure charges, you prepare a package of amendments to your MPS, your subdivision bylaw, and an infrastructure charges bylaw. And the kind of consultation, I guess, I would expect would be, I think you would want to hold an open house, at least one, with the community and certainly engage your stakeholders, primarily your developers, who are going to have a real concern probably about this, depending on how you set those rates. And ultimately, you need that solid background information like we had from that Porter Dillon study. You need to know what you're looking at over the next 20-25 years in terms of cost to allow growth to happen. And that makes it much more defensible, obviously, if you're you know, looking at doing this. And then setting the rates ultimately is a political decision. I mean, you're going to have some analysis probably about what the rate should be to capture a certain, or to cover a certain percentage of your infrastructure costs. But at the end of the day, you're going to try and balance that with also what you think the impact on development will be. It just goes without saying, I think. And there will be pushback. There was with us. And I think it'll be worse now just because there's such an emphasis on housing then. You know, again, back in 1998 or 2000, whenever we brought them in, nobody was talking about the cost of housing. You know, they felt that that was just a huge increase to a fee, but nobody was talking about the overall cost of housing when you can get a house for under $200,000. But now, I'm sure you'll hear, you know, the last thing we need is another $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 added onto the cost of it, because it will go to the purchaser. There's no question that if you put that extra money onto a developer, they're going to pass it along like they would any other cost. And really, that's the only, my last slide there is just that old nugget that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best is now. And, you know, we did this 25 years ago, and I'm really glad we did, because again, it's funded a lot of stuff over those 25 years as we've grown. So whatever infrastructure needs you have today, it's not going to take care of those, but it will down the road, you know, you're doing this for future generations. That's the presentation. Any questions?
Council. I'll just open up the floor.
Do you want me to go back here? So you're good for 2 minutes.
When you set your rates, did you look at other municipalities, like kind of?
Sorry, what's it?
When you set your rates, did you look at other municipalities and kind of set them based on?
The only other one that had rates was HRM.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So there wasn't much to look at it. No, it was really an analysis of the trying to figure out how much development we're going to have. How much revenue we could pull from that development and what percentage of our costs we could cover through that. And I don't know what percentage we were targeting, probably like 20 or 30%.
Is it more common now?
A little bit.
Places
There
out
are,
outside of you?
like Bridgewater just started with infrastructure charges. Truro is looking at it. I don't know if they've
I
actually.
think West Hants is just,
West Hands, yeah.
Okay.
So it is, like everybody that's growing, they realize this stuff is so expensive. That you need to help, or again, our philosophy was development has to help pay for itself.
Thank you.
How much did you say the accessory charge was? The accessory charge, how much? Because I know that's something
An
that,
accessory building,
yeah,
what did I say? It's per bedroom.
1,500.
Yeah,
so it's the same as townhouses?
yes.
So what's the pushback then, like, you said there was, I
Well,
mean,
it
we're
was
talking
back in
20,
2000.
yeah, but what, do you have it now?
None.
None,
No, people, and especially now that we're dealing, it was always the local guys, right, that, build a few houses a year kind of thing, that are used to a certain thing, but when you're dealing with Clayton and Armco and FH developments, that's just, business, regular business, and those are the folks who are mostly dealing with it.
John, thank you. Apologize for the,
No, it's all good.
time of our regular.
So Kevin has that
yeah,
presentation.
I will circulate to all council and the PAC and the bylaw and policy committee members, so you all have it.
thank you very much, thank you.
I'll make sure. You did that.
Yeah, I've turned it off now.
Written petitions for correspondence. So we're gonna move into 9A, and that's the appointment of the chief administration officer. That's here, Mr. Madison, please.
Thank you, your worship, the CAO recruitment committee has been busy over the last few months, working with the recruiting firm, professional recruiting firm Facet by Royer Thompson, who helped us with the search, doing the advertising, doing initial screening of candidates. And the short listing, they brought a short list back to the committee. The committee held a first interview with some candidates, and then the entire council interviewed 2 candidates. And coming out of that, myself, along with the solicitor and the help of Pastor Royer Thompson, negotiated an employment contract. And we're happy to say that we'd like to have a formal appointment this evening of Mr. Mark Seguin to be the new chief administrative officer for the town of Stewiacke. Mr. Seguin lives in Shorts Lake, so he's fairly close to here. Most recently has been working as executive director of Recreation Nova Scotia, has worked also with province of Ontario and with 2 towns in Ontario on some very special projects, and in the recreation field there, worked closely with CAOs there, so, and comes highly recommended by those he worked with.
Do you have a start date?
Oh, yes, start date of June 17th, so that would be part of the motion.
Any other questions before I call for your motion?
So are you staying until the 1st of July?
I'm making myself available to help. We're working on, Mark and I are already working on a transition plan.
Oh, okay.
And if it's approved tonight, I'll be releasing a letter tomorrow morning. If we have consensus tonight to apply. So. Okay, with that, have a motion, please. That's
I'd
approved.
be more than happy to make a motion that council approve the appointment of Mark Seguin as our chief administrative officer and with an effective start date of June 17th, 2020.
Thank you, Councillor. Second, please.
I'll second that.
Second, Councillor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
Next question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you, council. 9B, second reading, and we'll go back to you, Mr. Madison, for Perry Lake, please.
I'll just turn over to Grant. The language on the.
Yeah, well, basically, the language would just be, for that motion, I think you're all familiar with it now, is that, that I move that the generalized future land use map be amended by designating the subject area from to the, service residential. It's not serviced yet, but it's the transit, the tender plans for the birds are being approved. Spent a lot of money in engineering drawings. We don't, no question he's going to proceed with extending the services. So that's, and then the further, that's the generalized future land use map, and then further rezone the area, a combination of R2 and R3B. The cul-de-sac part is R2, rest of the site is R3B. So something along that lines would be fine.
Sure.
Did you touch that on TV? All you.
Just, Mr. Madison, bring it up here.
I think it's right bottom.
Right one.
So it's amendments to municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to redesignate and rezone the last residential phase of Perry Development Limited to allow a mix of residential development. Amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to establish a new commercial zone, the special commercial C3 zone.
Well, that's.
Oh, sorry, that's wrong.
That's
That's
the wrong one.
Okay, sorry, well, that was just the first part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, they're two on the same page, sorry, yeah. So it's amendments to municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to redesignate and rezone the last residential phase of Perry Lake Development Limit to allow a mix of residential development.
With that kind of motion, clarify. You've read it, so I, council should make that motion as read. So made by Councilor Ross Lane.
I'll second it.
Second by Councilor Osborne. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question is a call. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, now we'll go down to 9C, second reading. And we'll go to,
And so this relates to the rezoning of 12 Main Street. Municipal planning strategy is amended by so to insert. So it's a long, yeah, so several pages of amendments.
No, and I just say that, municipal planning is amended by, establishing a special commercial C3 zone and to rezone the site at the property at 12 Main to that zone. And then further to allow for future rezonings to the C3 zone. To allow future rezonings to the C3 zone in that area.
By application.
By application.
By application. right?
Yeah, by application.
Yeah.
Yeah, by application.
And you outline the uses in that C3 zone, right?
Yeah. The uses are cafes, hair salons, business or professional offices, flower sales, physical therapy establishments, and then also residential units are two uses. There's a number of restrictions also in the zone.
And did we restrict I just see a note here that we had changed it from 94146, maximum size of commercial use.
Yeah.
Did we change that?
Yeah, we can change that.
To 120?
It's now,
120.
Okay.
yeah, it's 120, which in square feet is 1291.
Oh, it's 1291?
In square feet.
Okay. I had.
So it went from 100 to 120. So, yeah.
I read that again. Okay, good. So with that, motion accept.
I'll make the motion that we accept as read.
Motion made by Councilor Osborne is read. Second, please.
I can second it.
Second by Councilor Boots. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Just clarification, most motions are before us, but when we had the meeting, we're bringing that forward to this second part of this session tonight, so. If it seems a little confusing or we're not, if our ducks are well, we actually do. It's just part of the process. So.
It's just, and further, your worship, just to this item, that, now that this will be submitted to the province for review, et cetera, to be a commercial zone, just there will be a subsequent, proper request for resolution will come forward to have that it can be to amend that it could apply for the commercial incentive. So, yeah, at that point, so that will be a future motion coming forward. The resolution that will be asked for in future meeting.
Thank you, council.
Can I ask a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
So. Just clarification on the incentive program.
Mm-hmm.
So is the incentive program for existing businesses that move? Or only new businesses?
It's for commercial, yeah, no commercial uses. However they get there. So it's got to be a commercial zone. And your commercial district bylaw has to be amended to say that this property will be added to the highway commercial, and the downtown. So that'd just be like a minor amendment. I think the philosophy.
It allows it by resolution.
Yeah. The philosophy behind it, anything zone commercial, that commercial use would be okay for the incentive. However it gets there, but the property's got to be zoned commercial and be used.
Okay, moving on. 9D, lease agreement, community center. Okay, back to you.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, thanks, Grant.
Right, thank you.
No problem.
So we're to 9D.
9D. So this arises from discussions at the April combined committee of the whole council meeting. You directed me to negotiate a lease for the third floor of the community center with Rising Tides Art Society for a 1-year term. We're recommending that you approve a lease for that space at the community center to the Rising Tide Art Society for a 1-year term commencing July 1, 2024 at $400 per month plus HST. And further, the town council publicly advertised the space for nonprofit or community organizations prior to the expiration date of that lease, which would be June 30th, 2025, since to be in full compliance with MGA and your policies, that should take place so that other nonprofit or public entities would have a chance if they wish to rent space as well. So it's part of the competitive process. So that's from the MGA. You may sell or lease property at price less than fair market value to a nonprofit organization that the council considers to be carrying on activity that is beneficial to the municipality. And second, that a resolution to sell or lease property referred to in subsection 1 at less than market value shall be passed by at least a 2/3 majority of the council present voting. This requires a 2/3 to pass because we haven't established a market value yet. There's no objective market, measured market value until you actually go to market, which would be that tenor at the time. And so Rising Tide provides arts and cultural programming, which are permissible municipal services. So it does complement municipal services. And by granting a lease to Rising Tides, that allows those services to be offered at no direct cost to the town for having those services offered within town. The lease is not for exclusive use of Rising Tide. That's important as well. It has been arranged so that the cadets are still able to use it, I believe, the 1 night a week. Through the summer months, we will still be able to use it until 1:30 or 2:30 in the afternoon for our summer day camps, that area. And so that was part of the negotiation, that we'd still be able to use it for that time, as long as we allow them to lock some of their materials in one of the closets to protect their materials. Uh, Currently, we're not receiving any revenue for that space, so at least it will, for this first term at least, allow us to offset some of the costs here at the community center. And from a strategic priorities workload, it allows, the offering of more of arts cultural services without taking any of town staff time or expense to the town for that. So your options are to either approve the lease requiring 2/3 majority, reject the lease and proceed directly to advertising space, or to retain the space for town purposes.
With that, I'll open up to the council.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, then I'll look for a motion, please.
I'll make that motion. Motion here. Oh, I'll make that motion that we approve the lease to Rising Tide. Okay. Approve a lease for the third floor space at the community center to the Rising Tide Art Society for a 1-year term commencing July the 1st, 2024 at $400 per month plus HST. And further, that town council publicly advertise the space for nonprofit or community organizations prior to the expiration date of June 30th, 2025.
Moved by second, sorry, moved by Councillor Lockwood, second by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Council. Number 90, funding application for the Provincial Capital Assistance Program, and that's going back to Mr. Matheson again, please.
Yep, so we're good. In fact, the RFP was posted today to do the wastewater treatment plant assessment as per the budget. And we want to apply to the Provincial Capital Assistance Program, see if we can get cost sharing on the cost of the study. So the recommendation would be to approve a resolution supporting submission of, and the application criteria council has to approve, right, has to explicitly approve submitting the application for funding consideration under PCAP. So the formal motion would be the town council approve a resolution of council supporting the submission of an application for funding under the Provincial Capital Assistance Program to offset the costs of a preliminary engineering study. And just as there's been some assessments done years ago. The most recent one, I think, is 2009, where it was looked at. Probably at that time they relied on stuff from prior studies. We're going to take an approach, and we're going to ask whoever successful proponents are to go back and look at it without looking at the old reports. We'll probably do a little bit on our own. We've become aware of some much better technology recently from a recent conference Mr. Sibley was to, that there's someone that can come in one day, give us accurate measurement of the sludge content in our lagoons, which, in past, you would have to pay one of these firms to get subcontract out, people to come along, put sticks down and measure over a great time. Now the technology, they can use sonar and come in one day, tell us that, which will be very key to deciding how to proceed. So whether, sludge management may buy us a few years before going to the next phase or not. So we'll probably proceed with getting that arranged while we could go through evaluating the RFPs when they come in, and that's not a huge cost for that. So I think it'd be money well spent, and they will have accurate information as opposed to guessing at what the volume is. So the budget had allocated 80,000 to come from operating reserves, but the funding window is open to apply, and we could get up to 50%. Depending on how many I expect there was a province-wide teleconference earlier or late last week, so I expect everyone's lining up their applications, which are due by June 13th. So it'll be they'll divide the pot amongst They allow up to one application per municipal. unit, so.
Did we apply for some other funding for wastewater?
Yeah, there's-
Before your time.
Yes. It's been applied for, and we have indications of it, but they haven't publicly announced that we have it, so we're not supposed to say.
But
So until as the senior levels of government don't like to say until they can have the photo up. Anyway, yes, there is, but that's meant for doing the actual work this study will. So once the study recommends, then that helps us. We know and have, there's some funding there to start moving
One,
ahead.
I think, wasn't
Hmm?
it? That was the anticipation, is it would go towards building a third one?
Potentially, yeah,
At the time, that
Yeah.
would be it.
Looking forward.
yeah.
So stay tuned, I guess is.
Whereas this program is really designed to do the study work, just what most of the PCAP is really that they're pushing that these smaller provincial only monies be allocated to do your study so you can get ready to issue design worker tenders.
That funding that we may or may not have. It's my understanding from attending the NSFM conference. And talking to some Department of Environment staff. That funding that we may or may not have may be able to be allocated to a water treatment plant. If not needed for the purpose that. If it comes out that we don't
Mhm.
need it. Do you know anything about that?
They haven't they're certainly not saying that at the staff level. So, but I definitely want to pursue it with them.
Okay,
So there was an initial ask about that probably 3 months ago and the answer was no, so it's time to ask again.
yeah. You'll see in my report that
Mhm.
Minister of Environment was there and he certainly indicated to municipal leaders. And I spoke to him and some of his staff afterwards. And that was certainly the indication.
So, we'll jump on that to see what's,
You need a motion on this?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that town council approve a resolution of council supporting the submission of an application for funding under the provincial capital assistance program to offset the cost of a preliminary engineering study.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, second by Councilor Freeman, discussion on motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now I'm gonna look down because I almost did again. CAO report.
yeah, so it's, I think it didn't get in back, so I'll circulate it again tomorrow too. There's nothing requiring any motions or substantive there, it's just the usual summary of meetings. And things like that we're looking at over the last month. So that will be on.
Go into bylaw and policies.
I have a few questions for the CAO, if I may. Last month I asked you about the paving or repaving of Main Street and you were gonna get back to me. Did you?
That has to go out for tender.
But are we are.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if
Yes,
we were doing it or not,
yes.
but we are doing, it. Okay. I also wanted to ask about St. Andrew Street.
Mhm.
There's a couple of areas that have been cut up for quite a number of months. We now have ATVs and motorcycles on the road.
Mhm.
I watched a motorcycle the other day who obviously was not familiar with the area and almost went for a spill. So I'm wondering if that paving of that section, if that's not going to be complete soon, if we could have some signage up at least?
Okay, no, I will check on that.
And I have two others. One is about the baby or infant swing in the park. I wasn't aware that we don't have one anymore, but we did have two.
They're on order.
They're on order.
Yep.
And do we have an anticipated date?
I don't know what the date is. We're hoping soon. I
Okay.
guess was what Aaron told me, yeah. But I'm not, not a firm date.
Are we able to find out an anticipated date?
Well, it was just, I don't think it was long. I mean, I don't think it's months or anything. We're hoping very soon.
Do you know when we ordered it?
No,
And then speeding. I've had a few complaints from residents regarding speeding throughout the town. And wondering about an RCMP presence for them.
yeah, I can contact him again. He'll be in the office Tuesday, so, yeah.
All right, that was it.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move into 10 bylaw and policies, and first on there is occupational health and safety policy, so I'll put it back to Mr. Madsen, please. It's in your
Yes,
packet.
we're, under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, we are required to annually approve the occupational health and safety policy, so I'd be looking for a motion for that. It's just, standard language, mainly coming from the act and regulations used by most municipal, units across the province.
I'll make that motion that we accept the occupational health and safety policy as circulated.
Thank you by Counselor Osborne, seconder, please.
Second.
Second by Counselor Roots. Discussion on the motion. Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Going into 9B, the acknowledgement, I believe that's over to Counselor Brennan, please.
So we have a report from our bylaw and policy committee. With regards to land acknowledgement, I think probably the briefest way to say it is that the phrase that we use now, from our research, is proper, in order, and anything further, I guess, would be more of a council discussion on truth and reconciliation. And if it would appear that we are using the proper phrase, we're using it in the proper manner. We could actually use it less than what we do, but I'd say we use it at council and committee of the whole. So it becomes, from my understanding, more of an issue of how we perceive truth and reconciliation, and if we want to do something further. And we'll try to answer any questions and a couple committee backups here if I can.
I think it was a start, that it was a good start, and we had done other things, to honor. But we haven't done, we have like, remember we had the orange
In the park.
in the park, and we didn't do any of that this year. And that's something that I think, goes along with going forward.
So that's just bring forward tonight, Counselor.
Yes, I guess the council wants more work done on it, or it may be the discussion council needs to have on what further actions they want to take.
I think that is something that's, I know it's important to me. And we did have a committee that we no longer have. Right? So I think it's worth exploring what more we can do.
The agenda is 10C, and that's the citizen employment process policy. I'll bring this back to you, Counselor.
So we've circulated the proposed changes, working with staff to, the basic changes would be that committee appointment is available to residents of the town, with the exception of the Business and Tourism Committee and the Community Parks, Recreation and Events Committee, which would also allow, in addition to residents, a director of a company that operates a business in the town. And we are proposing that the committees are in effect until the second year of the 4-year mandate for municipal. That would allow, I think, a little better continuity than council and committees all changing at the same time. We think that.
So again, that's just bringing it forward.
We need to approve
Need a
the
motion.
amendment.
So with that, Any more discussion before I call that? Okay, hearing none, I have that, motion, please.
So I would move that council approve the amendments to the citizen appointment process policy. 2017-42 as presented.
That was moved by Councillor Furley. Do I have a seconder, please? Second by Councillor Roger Lane. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Council. Moving right along now to move number 10D, Stewiacke Day Camp and Child Service Policy. Back to you, Councillor Furley. Please.
So we no sooner approve this than Aaron and the Recreation Department are able to create some after-school childcare services. And they also will probably do some things over marshals or storm days and things like that. So these amendments are to allow for the creation, not just the day camp, but also childcare services program.
Any comments or questions before I ask for the motion? Hearing none. Motion, please.
So I make the motion that council approves the amendments to the Stewiacke Summer Day Camp Policy number 2024-01 as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded by Deputy Mayor Chapman. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Councillor. We move into citizen comments. We have two in the gallery. Comments and
Or we have two participants online. We'll give you a couple of minutes to enter something in the chat window. If you have questions or comments, council this evening.
is there any way to bring the air back to the podium? You'll keep you awake. I wear a short sleeve shirt. I'm always sweating. Right? Well, it's not bad, so it's not bad.
No, I'm not seeing anything in the
Okay, thank you, sir.
chat windows.
With the number 12, which is my report, you have my report in your package now, and that was on me. I totally forgot to send it in, so that's nothing to do with staff, that was on me. So with that report tonight, I've also have a bring forward, but before I do bring forward, which I've asked Aaron to post tomorrow on our website and be put in the newsletter. I wanted to reflect on the journey since the last election in 2020. We faced COVID, the mass casualty, Hurricane Fiona, turnovers at the CEO positions. Thank you, Mr. Madison. Councillor Mary Coma's untimely death, the by-election, and the challenge of the by-election challenges. Gains were accomplished with infrastructure upgrades, and was demonstrated again with Riverside Avenue receiving critical ICIP funding, the realignment of committees, completion of the splash pad that was started by previous council at Dennis Park, the reduction of council size to reflect population size, holding taxes, reducing taxes, and improved communication. Personally, when I was elected, I made a commitment not to respond to the campaigns of whispers, deal with the facts, and demonstrate integrity as mayor. My personal stance has always been take the high road, remain positive, demonstrate leadership. I trust I succeeded. I have seen the good, I have seen the bad, and I've seen the ugly at this table and in the town. I guess someone said to me not too long ago, that's the world of politics. It's not the world I like, and we can do better. Mr. Madison, thank you. Your work is beyond approach. I mean that from a professional and a personal point of view. I remember back in those days when we were trying to get consensus to hire, we did their job right. So thank you. Supporting the new CEO and securing critical funding for a new water treatment plant facility needs to be, in my opinion, my humble opinion, our number one priority going forward. That is my brief. I'm going to take some time to deal with some personal health issues. And again, I've asked Aaron to post this tomorrow morning, and it will be in the newsletter. My decision for the upcoming election. Motion. Did that last time. For this month, I informed the town council and staff I would not be re-offering for mayor at the end of this term. My commitment to offer, and if successful, was a 4-year term in office. I will remain committed to the end of this term as your elected mayor. This term of office has proved to be both rewarding and has proved to be challenging. The challenges were not unexpected. I heard it wouldn't last 6 months. Well, I got beyond that. Not sure how sometimes. Leadership for me is leading by example. You treat people with integrity, with honesty, the way you want to be treated. My sincere gratitude is extended to our staff. We have an amazing staff. To the members of this council, previous, present, and past, for the privilege to serve with you as mayor during this time of unprecedented growth. And that's a fact we all know. I also recognize the Stewiacke Fire Department, our business community, and our volunteers who go above and beyond on a regular basis. To the citizens of Stewiacke, I offer my sincere appreciation for your trust during this term of office. All decisions I made, I hope, I feel were the best outcome of the town. I am confident and I pray the newly elected mayor and town council work together as a team in the best interest of our town under the founding principles of respect, growth, and prosperity. Folks, the town of Stewiacke is poised for tremendous growth. An engaged, high-level approach is paramount for success going forward. In the words of Muhammad Ali, service to others is a rent you pay for room here on earth. It's been a privilege. See, I get emotional when I'm angry and I get emotional when I'm not. So I'm a grabby. Thank you, folks. It's been my honor. With that, I'll go to Deputy Mayor Chapman.
And thank you, Mayor Lloyd. Just 2 items. Condolences to Councillor Creelman on the death of her brother-in-law this week. And also I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Creelman's on her team's induction into the Nova Scotia Curling Hall of Fame.
Here. Okay,
Thank you, Mayor, for your years of service.
thank you. And same to you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Councillor Osborne.
I have circulated a 3-page report from our attendants at the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. In addition to that, I know that we've had many discussions around the table about the benefits and or maybe the lack of benefits of attending conferences. But I want to assure you that attending these conferences provides an opportunity to speak to staff, like from the Department of Environment. You're able to speak to staff from the Department of Housing and Municipal Affairs, which is our minister that looks after us. During that conference, I spoke to both staff from both of those departments, asking about the drawing of water from the river, how much we can, how much we can't. I was provided with some information and contact information, which I will certainly follow up with and provide, as well as, you know, seeking funding, planting those seeds that our town needs help with the funding of a new water treatment plant. Planting seeds goes a long way to helping the plants grow, which hopefully will bear some fruit in some funding requests. I would like to address the mayor's decision. First, I want to say, and I've said this privately as well as when he told council of his decision last week. I'm extremely saddened to see him go. I'm extremely saddened to see him decide not to refer. He was the first to congratulate me. He welcomed me here to the table. And although we've had our differences and our little great chats that we've had over different items over the past 14 months, we've always been able to talk through those and have always been able to come out the other side, respecting each other's points of view and never holding that against each other. So I respect you for that. That goes a long way for me. It tells me what your character is. It tells me about your kind heart. It tells me what kind of leader you have been. I wish I had been here for the 4 years. I wasn't, but my time here since February of 2023, you have gone above and beyond to make me feel welcome. It's been a privilege to serve with you. I want to thank you for your commitment to our town. And I want to thank you very much for your desire to try to make change and affect change where we need it. All the best.
And just for the record, I won't steal the report that came from the dev. So Councilor Osborne passed a really nice report tonight in that much more detail than I'll have. So be a little focused. Thank you. Councilor, or Councilor, I sometimes go back and forth between that and Rebecca because of the planning advisory. So yeah, go for it.
I am not good at this stuff, but it has been a pleasure. Mayor.
I appreciate it.
So I have just a little bit to say. Thank you, Mayor Lloyd, for your service to the town and for making it a better place. I wish you well and success as you move on to new chapters. I wanted to just mention that the last few weeks, I've seen volunteerism in the forefront with the activities of the Studiac Garden Club, Shannon McPhee and the Dinner Theater, Rising Tides Art Society, Studiac Community Meals, Fire Department, and the Legion. It's inspiring to watch, and I'm happy that sometimes I get to help out from time to time. I wanted to wish a happy 80th anniversary to the Studiac Fire Department and thank them for what they do and for inviting us to their celebration. And I also wanted to mention that this would be the last couple of weeks, I guess, for Randy Buki, our Director of Finance, as she prepares to leave our employment later this month. It's been a pleasure working with Randy. I've learned a lot more about our finances. And I appreciate that Randy has always had the best interests of the town at heart, and I wish her the best.
Thank you, and I appreciate you too. Okay, with that, we are going to move into, let me see, in camera. So I have to ask you to vacate, please. Thank you.
I said bye. Now I said bye.
turn things back on. Okay, we're live.
Okay. So look for notice of motion reconsideration. Hearing none at 8:33, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Half an hour.
I-
Doesn't even know the council not, oh, 5.
Oh, 6:30. Oh, midnight here.
Me too. Very-
It's at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was holding everyone to it. Handing a pen at 9 o'clock, I was just gonna leave.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, don't hear the face.